Zimbabwe, where I come from, where I was born and raised, when this heinous crime was perpetrated, I could not believe it. I watched it moments after it happened. And I thought it was a video game, initially. And when I found that it's actually a reality, I froze. I lost the saliva in my own mouth. I couldn't believe that these are real lives that are being taken in front of our eyes. And it reiterated something that I've been saying for many years, that I don't understand two things about us as human beings. Number one is, as technologically advanced as the world has become, as sophisticated as we've become, as wealthy as we've become, we still kill each other. We still hate on each other to the degree that it leads to this type of behavior. And secondly, as advanced as we've become, we forget the power of the Almighty. I know there may be some who probably don't believe in God. And I'll talk about that in a few moments. But what I want to say is, for the believers, the Almighty definitely exists. There is this divine supreme power. And I think right now, with this coronavirus that has taken the globe by storm, and I pray again, may the Almighty protect us all from it and grant cure to those who've been affected by it, and help every soul who's been through any form of hardship because of it. May the Almighty help us all get over this. I believe firmly, my brothers and sisters, that as sophisticated as we've become, there are certain things we cannot do without the help of the Almighty. In fact, everything we do comes from the Almighty, His help, His guidance. The first thing that crossed my mind when I was watching this video, like I said, was, this must be a video game. Later on, as a person who's looked up to as a leader, I started thinking, we need to hold responsible certain people. And we need to change things. And we need to make sure that we get to the bottom of it. We need to make sure that the educators, the teachers, the parents, the people of influence only utter that which has a positive impact on communities and societies, so as never to let this repeat itself. And it's not the only crime, by the way, but it's the one we're talking about right now. From that day, I banned my children from playing any video games that have in them breaking the law. They told me, well, there's hardly anything left. Because even when you're playing a game with motor cars, you're only rewarded for breaking the speed limits. Why? They told me there are so many games where you're only rewarded to kill people. Why? They told me that there are games, others have told me, that there are games where if you were to master them, they've actually taught you exactly how to manage and handle weapons of destruction, such that it is so accurate, if you were to see the weapon in real life, you would not falter. How can we as human beings allow that? I still hold responsible the fathers of these games. Where is the game that rewards you for helping the elderly cross the road? Where is the game that helps you to stick to the speed limit and to put your seat belt? Where are these games? They say it's too dry. You mean we're training the children that it's too dry to follow the law? Well, what's the purpose? It's something worth thinking about. We as leaders, whether we are politicians or religious leaders or teachers or whatever strength you have, whatever power you have, even the wealthy, We need to raise this. I feel passionately about it. And then we talk about movies. And some of these are all about killing, and the people are rewarded to kill others, and the stereotyping and the racism that stems from the entertainment industry. We become, without knowing, or sometimes knowingly, sometimes without having thought about it, vehicles of spreading this hate. For the last year, I've been speaking to people on and off about what they think about movies they watch. And some of them say, you are right. Sometimes you feel so charged up after watching, a movie where a lot of killing has happened and you're taught that this is happening for the right reasons. You come out and you see people looking similar to those in the movie and you think about them in a negative way. I am here to tell you, we need to do something about this. It might not be within my singular power, and it isn't. But when we start talking about it, we will be able to help solve the problem. I remember once, many years ago, I referred to a certain type of people many years ago. I said, these people are worse than animals. And I regretted that, and I still regret it. Because to be honest, do you know your words, your actions, even your thoughts, the initial ones are just a seed. The seed germinates, it grows exactly per that plant that was sown initially. When you plant a cactus, don't ever think that apples will grow. They won't. You're going to have a cactus. And this is why I say, when you start thinking of the reality of what happened, and start going back to why it happened and dealing with it one after the other, I can tell you something. It made me believe that it was my duty to be here today. If I didn't believe in that, I wouldn't have left my family and my little children all the way in Zimbabwe to fly out here. But I believe in this cause. And I know it will grow. The fact that today's venue was changed will sow a seed of tremendous growth of this beautiful organization. And I hope that we can see real solutions. When we speak about respect, moments ago, I heard Brother Jihad saying that, tolerance is a word that has a negativity to it. I agree with that completely. I tolerate you. What does it mean? It means, look, I really, really just about scrape through. It's okay. To me, that's what tolerance means, right? Tolerate. Okay, we'll tolerate it. There's a big sound, we'll tolerate. But I promise you, there is a better word. Respect. I respect the difference. I don't need to be thinking exactly like you, but I am a part of you. Do you know why? Because we believe we're all from Adam and Eve. Those who don't believe we're from Adam and Eve, you believe we're from the same source, don't you? Because I did have it one day, someone told me, I don't think we're from Adam and Eve. It's just a joke and a hoax. The majority of us believe that we're from Adam and Eve. I said, well, brother, you're still my brother, because no matter where you came from, don't you believe I came from the same source? He said, well, I suppose. Not you suppose. We did. We're the same. Brothers and sisters in Adam. Imagine you have your own children and later on your great-grandchildren start killing each other. How would you feel? How do you think Adam will feel when he says, my child, what did you do to my other children? Wow. It's a thought. So when I heard him say that, and I said, yes, that's what I stand for. It's not just tolerance, it's respect. Do you know, when I've said this in the past, I've had Muslims tell me, but we're Muslims. Our faith is the best. And I said, you know what? You have people of all faiths who are entitled to believe whatever they want because they are convinced by it. And we still respect each other, even though we disagree. It doesn't mean I have to agree with everything you've said or you do or you stand for, and in order for me to respect you, it doesn't mean I have to agree with you. I respect you with the disagreement. You should respect me as well. In the same way that I felt hurt, very hurt, when Christchurch happened. I swear to God, I swear by Allah, I felt equally hurt when the church bombings happened in Sri Lanka. They were perpetrated by people who claim to follow the same faith I do. But I don't stand for those wrong values that they stood for. Not at all. In fact, what they followed was not my faith. It was something else. There may have been a few common factors, but it's not the same faith. I felt hurt. Why? Because human beings, human life, lost. I reach out to you. We're different. The Almighty created us differently in order for us to celebrate the diversity. Reach out to one another. Talk about your differences, no problem, but learn to love. Speaking about bullying and what so many go through, I believe, and some of my children are actually in school in South Africa, some in Zimbabwe. By the way, I have 10 children, mashallah. When I heard about how big the families are, I said, I should have been from New Zealand. In that case, I probably would have had 20 children. But mashallah, tabarakallah, I promise you, my brothers and sisters, we place our kids under the tutorship of the teachers and the educators, and we trust them with our children, hoping that they will teach them something good and positive. The same applies to people who visit the mosque or the church or the synagogue or the temple, wherever they go. We would like to hope that what is being taught there is not hate and killing and so on. No, you can, subhanallah, use it in a wrong way, but you will pay the price. And not only you, humanity pays the price. It's a responsibility. School teachers, parents, leaders of any sort need to make sure that they program the children's minds with the correct programming. Brother Tahseen, who joined me coming here, was telling me in the motor vehicle, and he's a school teacher for many years here in Australia, in Sydney. He says the best feeling, and it was repeated by Brother Jihad, is when you see those whom you've taught grow up and they are molded in a certain way that shows the success, and you feel you've contributed towards this. Wow, I agree. I agree completely. Imagine those who were the teachers of that criminal. How do you think they felt? I hope they felt part of the guilt, even though they may never have stood for that. But when you feel part of the guilt, I felt part of the guilt. Why? I said to myself, I'm not doing enough to promote the goodness, the love, the respect, and the explanation to humankind from an early age why exactly you're on earth. I was seated here, and by the way, the haka is not as scary as it looks. It's the first time I've actually witnessed a haka. Would you believe it? I've seen it on television. I've actually watched my friend Sonny Bill be part of it and so on. And I always used to wonder, I wonder how it feels. It looks quite scary with all these faces. But here, you guys are so tame. I think those faces are just there, you know. Part of the energy, mashallah. Well done, well done. So to be honest with you, something we all need to do is to ensure that we promote the goodness. I was saying, sitting here watching everyone, I'm thinking to myself, do you know your right to being on earth is exactly mine? We are just here for a short span of time. None of us is going to be here 100 years from today. None of us. especially with coronavirus around. Anyway, that's just on a lighter note. May the Almighty protect us. Don't get worried. Okay, let's make it a bit more interesting. None of us are going to be here 150 years from now. Okay? In case of some of you guys who think you're going to try. It goes to show that the Almighty has placed us on this earth, and the earth is not actually yours forever. You're just here for a few years. What are you going to do on earth? People will talk about you. You sit and read about Hitler. You sit and read about others. And you now know what they did and what they didn't do. Subhanallah. People will read about us. What we did, what we didn't do during our time. We may become totally insignificant, but I promise you, the time people will talk about, they will remember it. They will know in the year 2000, in the year 2010, in this century, and so on. What are you going to do while you're on earth? Leave a good memory. Do something good. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, something amazing that inspires me so much. He says, you know, if the trumpet is to be blown, and what that means is if the world is coming to an end, and everything is shaking, and everything is moving, and everything is about to be destroyed, more like an earthquake, more like tremors, and you have a seed of a fruit, before you go, plant it. Wow, when I read that, I'm thinking, this was many years ago, why would that be? It's in order to prove to your Maker that I did good, even on my deathbed, even when I felt there was no hope, I still thought to myself, you know what, let me plant the seed. I want to tell you that planting a seed is not necessarily only physical. It's not just a seed of a fruit tree. To plant a seed of love in the hearts of people. To plant a seed of love, care, understanding. If I disagree with you, what do? We need to know. I need to speak with respect. If I feel the need to communicate with you, I will tell you, my brother, my sister, I don't think this is a good idea. Let's talk, let's discuss, depending on how important the matter is. If it's a matter where lives are at risk, so, you know, we might become, or we might have to discuss much more. But it's important for us to know this. When we say we don't ever want this to repeat itself, we don't ever want this to repeat itself, it's good to say that. But I want to take it a step further and go back to the causes. Who feels guilty? If you do feel a sense of responsibility, I promise you, you'll change the way you live. You'll change the way you look at people. You'll change the way I have. You know how I'm dressed? I dress this way all the time. Okay? And I promise you, when I travel through airports, people say, are you ever discriminated against? Can I be honest with you? No. In fact, I'm respected, especially now. You have the odd officer who probably, maybe, but I always give them the benefit of the doubt. And I tell them, well, you know what? It's your right. It's your right to search everything. It happens very rarely. But discrimination, no. There is a lot of respect. A lot of respect. One day, there was an officer, one of the airports, I won't say where, he told me, wow, you look so good. You look so pure. You look so clean. And I said, hey, that's okay. That's fine. It's enough, you know. He says, I want to tell you something. I said, what's it? He says, have a good stay. I know you're going to do good things here. I said, how do you know that? I can see it on your face. And I told him, with the beard and all? He says, with the beard and all. And then he told me, you know, criminals want to hide their identity, but you're not hiding it, so we know you're not a criminal. You find that? And that changed my mind. I said, oh, well, at least it's a pass. Imagine me in something totally different. Those of you who know me, imagine me in something totally different. You'll say, wow. In fact, the once I did a skydive and I put the picture, and you know, I'm bald, mashallah. Myself and Ahmed are planning to go to Turkey to sort out the hair, mashallah. Sorry, I let your secret out. Anyway, they say the bald guys are sought after, mashallah. To be honest, I put up this picture and it went viral because people said, not the skydive, but we've never seen the sheikh in this clothing, you know. So it goes to show that, subhanallah, people actually respect differences. They actually do, deep down. There are a few, but it just needs one person to spoil the entire show. Everything is spoiled. And for me, it's more about that one and reaching out to him. When I see Jewish people, dressed in their clothing, long beards, long sideburns. I take a moment to smile and acknowledge and at least try my best to make sure that they feel this guy's a human being. And you know, people think to themselves, and I've seen it happening. Sometimes they look at you weird, and then they realize, oh, this guy's trying to, you know, at least acknowledge his being, and then they'll acknowledge back. Subhanallah. I was standing in the queue at Heathrow Airport, and in front of me was a Jewish family, and I went, I said, hey, how are you guys? You guys all right? He said, yeah, fine. Whoa. A little while later, someone comes to me and says, sorry, sir, can you follow me? Wow, did you hear that? They took me out of the queue. And so the guy says, are you someone famous? I said, no. Are you someone famous? I think you are. I said, why do you say that? I heard them talk about you. This is a famous guy. And to be honest, they took me out of the queue, took me to the front, sorted me out, and I met this guy at the carousel later on. I told you were famous. Amazing. And so this is why I say sometimes Muslims are taken out, well, in some places, I've heard about it, because they're Muslims. I want to tell you, sometimes they're taken out for the opposite, because they're Muslims. It's happened to me. What that means is, just as an honor, someone's recognized you and says, wow, let's take this guy through. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be reaching out constantly with positivity. I have something I live by. I live by every day. I will never compromise my positive behavior, my love, my respect, my goodness because of someone else's negative behavior and hatred and everything. I will never compromise it. I don't care what people think about me in terms of negativity. I will remain positive. They can say whatever they want. Watch me on social media. When the hate starts, I am so quiet, and sometimes I have these comments where I will just say something that will break them. So break them in a nice way, break their hate, and make them perhaps laugh or think, whoa, no, this guy here, he's different, he won't even get angry. Why should I be under the spell of a hater by becoming angry because of his hate? No, I won't. I'll continue, and that's what it's all about. So it's amazing how I ended up here in Sydney. And to be honest, I was wondering what's going to happen with this coronavirus, but I made a promise. I said, you know what? If we're blocked and we're stopped, that's when we will stop. If we're not, we will carry on. We will carry on. When I heard about Tom Hanks, that's when I actually gulped a bit. I said, too close for comfort. Too close for comfort. But I say, may the Almighty grant him also cure, and his family and all of them who have been affected. Honestly, it's something that affects humanity at large. And like I said earlier, and I repeat, I've said this in the promotional video, to say, why do we have to wait for something of this nature before we can unite? And I want to end by telling you, I have a lot to say, but for the next whole year, I suggest to Sister Yasmin and to the others of Humans Unite to continue having little workshops and to continue having, empowering lectures and perhaps presentations at schools and everywhere else as a follow-up of this. That's something that I really believe in. And I want to tell you, like I say, I have a lot to say. Let's say it over the year, so that when we meet next year, perhaps here or anywhere else, we will be able to look back and say, yes, we have left a mark, created an impression, and we've changed the world for better. Inshallah. So the words I want to end with is, brothers and sisters, we mistaken unity for uniformity. People say, we're united. You know why? Because everyone came with the same uniform. That's not it. Unity is when you can respect difference of opinion. That's when you're united. Unity has very little to do, if anything at all, with uniformity. I want to tell you why. Have you seen the people go for Hajj? And I'm sorry to give you this example, but it's a reality. The Muslims think to themselves, wow, look at all these 1.5 million, 2 million, 3 million Muslims all bowing down together and all praying together. Look at the unity. And I tell them there is no unity, because the hearts need to be united, not the clothing. People of different sects killing each other for what? For politics. Don't be brainwashed by politicians. Sorry, brother. I must say, there are exceptions. Obviously, there are exceptions. But what I mean is the hate mongers and those who try to make us do negative things, bad things. They want to. It's the them and us mentality. That's what I mean. And mashallah, you addressed it in the correct way. So we give you the 10 out of 10 for that.
Vocal lines you had there.